All right. How y'all doing today? It seems like these dark shades are the thing of the week or month or year. So I thought I'd put mine on today. Seems like you think clear with these things on. Like in Big Daddy where he had the little boy put on a shade and he said, "You're invisible now. Nothing can hurt you." So I guess that's why sometimes people wear shades while they're in the house. So I thought I'd wear mine today just to see what all the fuss was about. Um, Welcome. My name is 12 Gauge. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, I hope that you find something that interests you, something that helps you keep coming back, and something that keeps motivating you to search and learn and decipher the true crime world. If you're a returning person, thank you for coming back. It's much appreciated. Everything I say here is based on my intellect, speculation, and understanding of facts. I talk in a very generalized manner, so nothing I say is directed towards anybody or anything, any likeness of any other channels, or therefore is just strictly coincidental. Hey, Rondi, how you doing? Good morning. Good morning. Good evening, wherever it is you're at. This morning, as the title says, IDAHO4, the cam photo, and more. And that's what we're going to talk about this morning. Is I had a user, or not a user, a subscriber just sent me a photo of something that I've been looking for a long time now. And I'm going to show it because it's interesting to me that this photo kind of identifies more camera footage um, that was shown on the night of the murders. Portland, sunny and beautiful. Awesome to hear it. It's kind of cloudy and kind of, I would say, about 74 here in Texas, where I'm at. This photo, let me see if I can find the video so I can give you some kind of background on what I'm about to talk about, because without the background you really don't know what I'm talking about. So let me see if I can find some background on this and we'll go from there. I'm kind of waiting on some other people to get into the chat so that we can go ahead and go on with what I'm wanting to talk about. I'm going to talk about a lot today, so I want people to be in here so that they don't have to lag behind too far. Maybe it wasn't live. It's one of my more popular videos, so maybe I'm overlooking it somewhere. There's plenty of videos on my page that show all kinds of commentary on the IDAHO4 case. So if you've never been to the library on my page, you can kind of go on there and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so I found it. Let me move it to the part that I want you to see. And for copyright purposes, I'm about to show my own commentary 12 gauge Phillips on the Ring camera. Well, that sucks that you're not getting notified. I hope that that changes. So you're about to get a double dose of me here for a minute because I'm going to give you a little bit of insight on what I'm talking about here. Then I'm going to show you the photo. Okay. So let's go ahead and start with this. I'm going to take these silly glasses off because there's no need to have them on in the house. I would get backhanded if I was younger and my parentals were here. They'd be like, "What are you doing with that on?" Okay, let's go ahead and listen to what 12 gauge has to say about this. Okay, here we go. Here's your shout out, bro. Thank you for the photo. As y'all can tell, what I was talking about, this is 500 Queen Road. This is Queen. This is King. This is King. It's quite confusing, but this is the area that 1122, the house used to stand. This right here is 500 Queen Road. This is where the light bulb cam, it captured the thud, the dog barking, and the car speeding away. But in the very beginning, they did a piece on News Nation, I believe. And Brian Enton was talking about this Ring camera right here. And they even diagrammed it on the screen. And they were talking about how it's able to view certain areas and the width of what it can view. And this is what I was talking about last night. I don't know if you got the gist of it because I just pulled up that one picture with a circle around it, and I saw it this morning. There was no sound, there was no nothing, and I was like, "Great, way to go, 12 gauge, way to go." Well, once again, this is 500 Queen Road Apartments right here. This is the road that goes in front of the apartments, which is also Queen Road. This is another apartment building. And supposedly they did some investigating. They did some luminol traces over here in the front of the apartment complex for some reason. I'm sure we'll find out why. But the most important part that I'm trying to bring up tonight is that this cam could have captured a lot more than people even realize. This was the cam, I believe. These apartments are across the street. Okay. So this individual is handing the police officer something. And you don't know if that's a SIM card, if that's some kind of storage card. But this is the end of the road. This is King Road right here. This is that apartment building at the very end of the street. 1122 is right to the right of that officer across the street. So this is the individual handing over some kind of SIM card or something of that nature that shows um that shows this individual handed something over. And let me show you this other picture that I have to give you some more kind of insight. So there's this picture, okay? And this is verification that this was actually something that was handed to the police that could or could not be used as evidence. Okay. And let me show you the other picture. I hope you guys are having some coffee or some kind of something to wake you up this morning. Okay. Do y'all see this? This is the layout of the area where that guy would um just handing that picture. Okay. So if you can see my pointer, they were right here at the end of this street, right, or at the end of the driveway, right here. So what I was saying is these apartments right here in this area had cameras. So I've been saying this all along. I didn't steal it from anybody. I thought about it in my head because I had seen it early on because I used to watch the coverage daily and I saw Brian Enton discussing these cameras and he was talking about the visual imagery that they could see. So if we're looking at the PCA, then these cameras would have been able to see the suspect vehicle number one entering Queen Road and then exiting Queen Road. And they also would have seen where the suspect vehicle number one would have been able to attempt to go into the driveway, got stuck, and turned around and then headed down Queen Road again. So that's what I'm trying to tell you at this point right now is that um this is the area where I'm talking about. Yes, you guys are awesome. Yes, Monster Energy, that's some good stuff right there, but it's not good for you, but it's good. Coffee, always, yes. And you said, I do remember that early on. Good. I'm glad you do because a lot of people don't. They see it and then they say, well, it's just coincidental. This happened early on. No big deal. So if um if you do remember that or you don't remember that, try to think back very early on because this was like within a day or two that they were doing this. So they were there gathering those cameras from this area. And then here's the 1112 camera. And then there are 52 cameras right up the road, right here on Queen Road Apartment. One thing that made me think about these cameras was the fact that there's no way that this camera right here would have been able to see Kaylee and her dog in the backyard. There's no way that this camera over here would have been able to see Kaylee and her dog. The fact that Olivia, which is Kaylee's sister, stated that she saw Kaylee take the dog out, that means that she had seen from a camera specifically her sister and the dog being outside. So if they were outside, then they were seen on these cameras right here. This camera didn't see it. But many people will try to argue with you and they'll say, well, this is the camera that saw everything, that heard everything, this one or the 52. So these are the only two cameras that captured anything. I beg to differ. I beg to differ on that. Um, because, you know, if if there's only two cameras on a road, how did they get so much information? You know what I mean? How did they get all that going on with the investigation? How were they able to pinpoint the fact that Olivia the interview is on News Nation. It's where she's talking to it's either on News Nation where she's talking to Cuomo or she's talking to Brian Enton or one of the ladies. That's where that interview is. The one where I'm talking about where she said she was able to see the footage. I've heard the house on the bottom left side has a camera on its back porch, which faces the slider door on 1122. I don't know if it's true, like everything else in this case. You're right. I've heard that too. Like I did a video on that the other night where I was talking about that, where that was the house that got broken into. The car got broke into, and they took the lady's undergarments and stuck them in the cup holder. And supposedly, after the lady called the police and everything, there was an interview done, and she was able to get a camera and put it on the back balcony. Now, if that's the case, let me pull that picture back up. If that's the case, then that would explain that could possibly be the camera that saw her sister and the dog. Good grief, I have so much going on right here. I can't get it all together. I just forgot what I did with that. Okay, here it is. Let me share that again. I believe you are right because I remember hearing that as well. Okay, can y'all see that? Let me put myself toward the bottom here. Bring a little more. Okay, what you're talking about, this house right here. This house right here is the house that supposedly everything got broken into. Her undergarments were placed in the cup holder. I heard that either she put a camera on the back balcony or that there was one in the window. But also, if you remember, if you're going along the line of some of the other stuff that we've heard along the way, this is the house where Dot was supposed to be at. This house right here, the one that you're talking about. This was the house that Dot was supposed to be at, where she saw Dylan and four other people congregated in the backyard on the next morning. So if this is the house that had the camera, this is the balcony where Dot was supposed to be out smoking and saw everybody congregated smoking some weeds. Do y'all remember that story? Yes. Yes, that is the apartment. Let me see if I can bring up the video of it. That way you guys can really see the layout of it. I'm glad you guys remember all this stuff because there's people that haven't been following this case throughout the whole situation. And they don't know what I'm talking about. They don't have a clue. Let me see if I can pull it up here. It's weird whenever you type stuff in, it like types 100 different things. Maybe I'm not just maybe there's an easier way. I'm just going the most prehistoric. prehistoric way it's possible. Obviously, this has happened more than once in other places. Well, I'm looking for that video. Let me show you this one because it says police sees underwear, medical gloves, and flashlight of Brian Koberger. I've never seen this one. Let me show you this one right here while I'm looking for the other one.
We have new details about a third search warrant for Brian Koberger, and this one sheds light on what police found when they arrested him at his parents' home in Pennsylvania on December 30th. The surviving roommate, Dylan, who saw the killer inside the home on the night of the crime, described him as wearing all black from head to toe. And we know that investigators believe that there could have been significant blood cast off or spatter left on the clothes from the stabbings. And bearing that in mind, that makes what cops took from Koberger's parents' house pretty interesting. Among the items was a Champion WSU Cougar sweatshirt in black, along with black socks, black boxers, and black shorts. They also found 4 medical style gloves. Now, you'll remember a while back, a source close to the investigation said that they witnessed Brian Koberger in the middle of the night putting trash in the neighbor's bin wearing gloves. And police also obtained a similar style glove from his apartment in Washington State. Cops and PA also took a white t-shirt, silver flashlight, and a size 13 pair of Nike sneakers. And that last one is important because a latent shoe print was found at the crime scene. Forensics preliminarily determined that the latent shoe print was likely from a pair of Vans sneakers, not Nike. So this may or may not actually be the shoe that left the latent print. However, it will be interesting to see whether or not the latent print is also a size 13. They also obtained a buccal swab. That's a swab of the inner cheek, which is used for DNA matching.
Wow. What y'all think about that?
This was someone.
Pretty interesting, huh? I still cannot find that video. I'm sure I'll find it when I don't want to. Let me see if I really don't like stealing, not really stealing, but okay. I don't like to borrow other people's stuff. Because they get kind of upset about it. Even though they say they don't, they really do. It's a body cam video, so you guys can go look it up. It's on YouTube somewhere. It's a body cam video that shows the girl that lived probably catty corner to the house, and she was able to show that her car was broken into, stuff was moved around, her underwear was placed in the cup holder. Oh, so Swamp Road is coming back? That's awesome. She had some good stuff. Yeah, I was gonna invite her on a panel before she had all that stuff happen. Says I saw the video of the cops with her. You're right. She had it's a body cam video and it shows basically that area by the house. So you can go and look that up. And that's basically what I'm talking about here. Um, I want to talk about the crime scene because it's gonna open into something else that I want to talk about. Um, does she have the same name as she did, or I don't know if you're allowed to release that, or tell her to send me an email and we'll go from there. So let's watch this video. We're gonna where Brian Enton's gonna talk about the crime scene. It says very traumatic and first responders. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I'm gonna lead into some other stuff toward the end that's gonna tie all this together. Okay, so be patient. I'm not just squirreling around right now. I'm actually there is a method to my madness.
Welcome back to our exclusive coverage of the Idaho student murders. 1 year ago today, it's hard to believe, 4 college students were brutally stabbed to death in their beds. Brian Koberger is set to stand trial for their murders. Even though it's been a year, we are still learning new things about the case. We still don't know exactly when the trial will be. Could be a year, could be 2 years by now. So much of the new information we're learning is because of great work by journalists like Carrie Sandonay. And I want to bring Carrie in. She is a reporter with the Lewiston Tribune. Carrie, I've become friends with you. Carrie sits next to me in the courtroom. She's at every court hearing. You've been a wonderful resource for me because you know the community so well. We really appreciate you being here with us tonight on I hate to call it the anniversary. Some people keep saying that. It sounds weird saying that. The 1 year mark since the awful murders in this town. I mean, you live in this area. You've covered it for a long time. You were at the vigil tonight. How do you feel the community's doing a year out?
I was I was happy to hear the students say tonight that they're able to remember their friends that they lost with happy memories, good memories. They can look at photos now without crying. That gave me a lot of hope.
Yeah, I was surprised to see such close friends of Ethan and Maddie and Xana and Kaylee speak tonight. I mean, you know how traumatized they all are, but they were really brave tonight.
Yes, they did a wonderful job. I thought it was a moving vigil, and I was impressed.
I want to talk to you about the court process
Okay.
because you know the players involved because
Mhm.
you cover this area very well. First of all, prosecutor Bill Thompson, there's a gag order. There's a lot we don't know. What's your perception of how he's handling things so far?
I think this community has a lot of confidence in the prosecutor. I covered a murder trial here a few years ago. That was the Charles Capone case, and Thompson was able to get a conviction, even though the body was never found, and to this day has never been found.
Yeah, and we know, I mean, covering crime, conviction without a body is difficult.
Right.
Doesn't happen a lot.
That's right. And he worked well. They put together a good case with the Moscow Police Department and the Idaho State Police, and they worked really well with other agencies, which I see in this case as well. There's a lot of agencies working together and collaborating.
Yeah, I think there's this feeling on the outside. It's a small town. It's a small police department. I think the prosecutor's office only has a couple of attorneys. Bill Thompson's the elected state attorney who actually tries cases, which is kind of unheard of in a big city. There's this feeling like, are they really ready for something of this magnitude? I mean, 4 young people dead, death penalty on the table, but you get the sense they are.
Yes, I do. And I noticed right away they called in the FBI and larger agencies for assistance, and I think they are ready.
A lot of people are wondering, and I talked about it in our last segment about the possibility of a change of venue. Do people in this area just know the case too well? Would it be hard to find a jury? What's your feeling about that?
Well, I'm interested in that. I've been wondering the same if they will seek a change of venue, and it hasn't happened yet, so I don't know.
And you know this area. I mean, obviously we're in Moscow. People in town here are very familiar with the case, but Latah County is a big county. I mean, couldn't they get jurors? You know, it's interesting. I talked to Keely Gonzalez's dad last week, and he said, I feel like the jurors should be farmers because they don't watch a lot of news.
Yeah.
They're out there doing their thing. Like, is it possible, do you
Sure they get juries, jury members who aren't already biased.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the judge so far? I mean, you're in all the hearings with me. Initially I got the vibe like he was kind of annoyed by the media, and the last hearing seemed to kind of come around, said cameras can stay. What do we know about Judge? And Judge, by the way, his last name is Judge, so it sounds
Right.
weird, but it's Judge.
Right. I have been told by people in attorneys that he's a great judge and he does his homework and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's been good in the hearings that we've gone to.
In terms of the crime scene, I mean, you started reporting on this case very early on because you're local. I mean, we know that it was gruesome. I mean, it was a stabbing of 4 young people. What have you heard?
Well, when it initially happened, we didn't know what had occurred at that house. We thought maybe it was carbon monoxide poisoning, or nobody really fathomed that this had happened until some details came out. And I know that from what I've heard, that it was very traumatic scene for first responders. They'd never seen anything like that in their lives.
Yeah, we've reported and heard from, young officers on the Moscow police force who were among the first to get to the scene. And this is a small town. I mean, they don't deal with a lot of homicides, let alone
Right.
something quite like this. And you just have to imagine what they all must be going through even a year later.
Oh, yes. I'm sure they required counseling, a lot of them. It was horrific. As you know, there was blood dripping down this house, the side of the house. I mean, it was brand new territory for a lot of them.
Thank you for watching.
Okay, that was quite an interview. Just for information purposes, anyways. I'm about to show you something where this individual did a reenactment, so to speak. This channel, I'm going to give a shout out to it because he did a great job. The channel's name is True Crime Web. The video I'm about to show you is Koberger, Shadow Save Witness, CSI Recreation. I watched this and this is pretty awesome. He did another one as far as sound's concerned, but I like this one a lot better. So we'll watch this and then we'll talk about it. Once again, True Crime Web. And here we go.
This is a recreation of me moving the mannequin on the trolley, bringing him towards the opening. And I'll repeat this in full light so that you can see as he would approach what he would look like in a well-lit area from. Now, this is position 1. This is where the camera is set up in position 1 and in the low light conditions. And you can see the silhouette. And I moved the mannequin back in stages to try to get where you can identify at what point you can see the reflection of the face. And it's pretty well somewhere right here is where most of the facial is able to be seen. And whenever you're at home, if you turn off your lights and things, let your eyes adjust, you'll see a little bit more. But this is a recreation of.
Okay. So what you guys think about that? I thought it was pretty interesting. I mean, obviously you couldn't really see a lot until he backed the mannequin up right before um right before the opening of the door. So whenever he did that, you were able to see a little bit of the facial structure, and you were able to see a lot of what Dylan may or may not have seen. So as soon as the individual went through the door or came out of the doorway around that hall, and I'll show this in the video. I'll pull that other video up again that showed the 360 of the house. Um, as soon as he rounded that corner where the hallway ended, I believe that's where she saw him. Because it seemed, if that reenactment is true, it seems like it would have been darker the closer it got to her room. What do y'all think? You think it would have been darker the closer the individual came to the end of the hall, going through that doorway? You know, because you saw the light beaming out. So as soon as he got past that wall, you would have been able to see him. But the closer he got toward the doorway, it seems like it became more shadowy and you weren't able to see as much. What do y'all think? You think that was a pretty good, accurate interpretation? Yes, because they would be covered in the light the closer they get to you. Very true. I believe so too. I really liked it because it showed, movement. It showed the individual coming through the hallway down toward the doorway, which she would have seen on the third time opening the door. She would have seen him coming toward the doorway. Rondi says, "I guess we can't be sure, but that does make sense. Would have been quick, of course." Especially if it was a taller individual, he would have had wide strides or possibly short strides. I mean, a lot of this is taken into account based on the evidence that they collected. They might have collected some footprints, some foot impressions that we don't even know about. Okay. But I'm about to show you a video. It's very graphic and it's very, very triggering. But imagine this being the individual who created these crimes. And I want you to look at how fast this individual does this. So if you're thinking about the PCA and you're thinking about the time frame and you're thinking about these individuals being in a bed, maybe one being in bed asleep, passed out, maybe the other one, um, maybe the other one, coming into the room and being, startling the perpetrator and having this done to her, and then all the way, and him going down the stairs, confronting one of the male victim and then confronting the other female victim. Take a look at how fast, and this is a professional, okay? But that doesn't mean that you can't teach yourself to do this, okay? Because this individual that supposedly did this had some training in boxing, so he had to have some quick movements in his hands. His hands had to be pretty quick. So to say that he couldn't have done it, there's a possibility. To say that he could have done it, there is another possibility. So you have to look at all this evidence and take it into account rather than just say there's no way that it could have been done. No way the time frame could have been done. There's no way this individual did it, and there's no way this, that, and the other, and moving across the floor and all that. There's no way, no way, no way. Come on. Be open-minded for once, okay? I'm not trying to paint a picture of this man being guilty or this man being innocent. I'm mostly just presenting some scenarios with some activities to back up what we've heard about in the PCA. So I'm gonna show you this, and like I said, don't report me if you get triggered or something because it's pretty brutal. All right. It's really brutal, but it kind of gives some insight on how this could possibly happen. Okay. And here we go.
3, 2, 1, come
So I want to pause it right there. That was pretty fast, wasn't it? I've done some knifing videos that have said you can generally hit somebody 5 times per second. Look at the blood splatter on his clothes. There's none on his face that we can see. There's none on his arms. It's mostly all on the clothing because he was close to it. Let's watch it again.
3, 2, 1, come
Okay. If you want to go watch that on your own and kind of give yourself some insight on that, it's on it's on Nerf This, and it's a Navy SEAL. That concludes today's presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.